Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Pfister. Happy Monday. I had started last week by doing a read aloud and I wanted to continue this week. I will try to get one recorded every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of this week and see how it goes. I am sitting in my dining room right now in front of the window and it's not the nicest day out today. It's kind of cloudy, well it's definitely cloudy. There were some snow flurries earlier and now it seems to be raining a bit. So I chose the book today, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, to read out loud since it was fitting for the weather. So I hope you enjoy. This is Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, written by Judy Barrett and drawn by Ron Barrett. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. We were all sitting around the big kitchen table. It was Saturday morning. Pancake morning. Mom was squeezing oranges for juice. Henry and I were betting on how many pancakes we could each eat. And Grandpa was doing the flipping. Seconds later, something flew through the air and headed toward the kitchen ceiling and landed right on Henry. After we realized that flying object was only a pancake, we all laughed, even Grandpa. Breakfast continued quite uneventfully. All the other pancakes landed in the pan, and all of them were eaten, even the one that landed on Henry. That night, touched off by the pancake incident at breakfast, Grandpa told us the best tall tale bedtime story he had ever told. And if you boys and girls know about a tall tale, you can remember that it is a story that is made up and creative, and it may have things that talk that don't normally talk, and very, very strange things. And that's what we're about to hear. Across an ocean, over lots of huge bumpy mountains, across 3 hot deserts and 1 smaller ocean, there lay a tiny town of Chew and Swallow. In most ways, it was very much like any other tiny town. It had a main street lined with stores, houses with trees, and gardens around them, a schoolhouse and about 300 people and some assorted cats and dogs. But there were no food stores in the town of Chew and Swallow. They didn't need any. That's weird, no food stores? I wonder why they didn't need any. The sky supplied all the food they could possibly want. That's interesting. The only thing that was really different about Chew and Swallow was its weather. It came 3 times a day, at breakfast, lunch, and, dinner. Everything that everyone ate came from the sky. Whatever the weather served, that was what they ate. But it never rained rain. It never snowed snow. And it never blew just wind. It rained things like soup and juice. It snowed mashed potatoes and green peas, and sometimes the wind blew in storms of hamburgers. My boys would definitely like that. They're big hamburger fans. The people could watch the weather report on television in the morning, and they would even hear a prediction for the next day's food. When the townspeople went outside, they carried their plates, cups, glasses, forks, spoons, knives, and napkins with them. That way they could always be prepared for any kind of weather. If there were leftovers, and there usually were, the people took them home and put them in their refrigerators in case they got hungry in between meals. The menu varied. By the time they woke up in the morning, breakfast was coming down. After a brief shower of orange juice, low clouds of sunny-side-up eggs moved in, followed by pieces of toast. Butter and jelly sprinkled down for the toast, and most of the time it rained milk afterwards. For lunch one day, frankfurters, which are called hot dogs, already in their rolls, blew in from the northwest and about 5 miles an hour. There was mustard clouds nearby. Then the wind shifted to the east and brought in baked beans. A drizzle of soda finished off the meal. I now have an audience of my 2 sons watching me read out loud. You could say hi, boys.
Hi.
Patrick?
Hi.
Bye. Nice. Dinner one night consisted of lamb chops, becoming heavy at times with occasional ketchup. Periods of peas and baked potatoes were followed by a gradual clearing, with wonderful jello setting in the west. The sanitation department of Chew and Swallow had a rather unusual job for a sanitation department. Does anyone know what sanitation means? Those are like our garbage men that come and pick up our garbage when we put it down by the curb the night before or the morning of. So that's another word for garbage men, is called sanitation. It had to remove the food that fell on the houses and sidewalks and lawns. I don't know if I would like that job. The workers cleaned things up after every meal and fed all the dogs and cats. Then they emptied some of it into the surrounding oceans for the fish and turtles and whales to eat. The rest of the food was put back into the earth so that the soil would be richer for the people's flower gardens. Well, I guess that's a good use of the leftovers. They didn't go to waste. They fed animals, they went back into the soil. Life for the townspeople was delicious until the weather took a turn for the worse. Dun dun dun. The headline says, "Spaghetti ties up the town." One day there was nothing but gorgonzola cheese all day long. And if any of you know about gorgonzola cheese, it's a very stinky cheese. It smells delicious, but smells. The next day, there was only broccoli, all overcooked. Uh-oh, my boys wouldn't eat anything if it was just broccoli all day. And the next day, there were Brussels sprouts and peanut butter with mayonnaise. Ew, even I don't like that. Oh, I got an ew from the other room. Another day, there was pea soup fog. No one could see where they were going, and they could barely find the rest of the meal that got stuck in the fog. Tough day for the people of Chew and Swallow. The food was getting larger and larger, and so were the portions. Portions means the serving, so how much food you got. The people were getting frightened. Violent storms blew up frequently. Awful things were happening. One Tuesday, there was a hurricane of bread and rolls all day long and into the night. There were soft rolls and hard rolls, some with seeds and some without. There was white bread and rye and whole wheat toast. Most of it was larger than they had ever seen bread and rolls before. It was a terrible day. Everyone had to stay indoors. Roofs were damaged and the sanitation department was beside itself. The mess took the workers 4 days to clean up, and the sea was full of floating rolls. To help out, the people piled up as much bread as they could in their backyards. The birds picked at it a bit, but it just stayed there and got staler and staler. That's when bread gets very hard and you can't bite into it. That's called it's getting stale, and then it's not the best to eat anymore. There was a storm of pancakes one morning and a downpour of maple syrup that nearly flooded the town. A huge pancake covered the school. No one could get it off because of its weight, so they had to close the school. Lunch one day brought 15-inch drifts of cream cheese and jelly sandwiches. Everyone ate themselves sick, and ended the day with a stomachache. There was an awful salt and pepper wind, accompanied by even worse tomato tornado. Say that 3 times fast. Tomato tornado, tomato tornado. People were sneezing themselves silly and running to avoid the tomatoes. The town was a mess. There were seeds and pulp everywhere. The sanitation department gave up. The job, too big for them. Everyone feared for their lives. They couldn't go outside most of the time. Many houses had been badly damaged by giant meatballs. Stores were boarded up and there was no more school for the children. So a decision was made to abandon the town of Chew and Swallow. Do you guys know what abandon means? It means to kind of just leave it and get away from it all. It was a matter of survival. So all the people that lived in the town were just going to leave and go find someplace else just to survive and not get overrun with all of the food that was piling up. The people glued together the giant pieces of stale bread, sandwich style with peanut butter, took the absolute necessities with them and set sail on their rafts for new land. So they actually made rafts out of the old bread and glued it together with the peanut butter. And then this is a piece of like Swiss cheese, and this looks like a piece of mushroom pizza. They use those for the sails. Pretty ingenious. After being afloat for a week, they finally reached a small coastal town which welcomed them. The bread had held up surprisingly well. well enough for them to build temporary houses for themselves out of it. The children began school again, and all the adults had tried, very cute. My son's interrupting with different signs. The children had begun school again, and the adults all tried to find places for themselves in the new land. The biggest change they had to make was getting used to buying food at a supermarket. They found it odd that food was kept on shelves, packaged in boxes, cans, and bottles. Meat that had to be cooked was kept in large refrigerators. Nothing came down from the sky except rain and snow. The clouds above their heads were not made of fried eggs. No one ever got hit by a hamburger again. And nobody dared to go back to Chew and Swallow to find out what had happened to it. They were too afraid. Henry and I were awake until the very end of Grandpa's story. I remember his kiss goodnight. The next morning, we woke up to see snow falling outside our window. That's kind of like what happened when I woke up this morning. We ran downstairs for breakfast and ate it a little faster than usual so we could go sledding with Grandpa. We didn't have enough snow this morning to go sledding, but it was snowing while I was eating breakfast. What did you guys have for breakfast? I had waffles with sausage. It's funny, but even as we were sliding down the hill, we thought we saw a giant pat of butter at the top, and we could almost smell mashed potatoes. The end.
The end.
The end. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And there you go on the back. And that is our story for today. Monday, March 23rd is cloudy with a chance of meatballs, which I picked today because it's fitting for the weather we have outside. This is part of my backyard, and it's definitely cloudy. Hopefully no meatballs falling from the sky. So take a listen. I wish you guys all the best. I will do another read aloud again on Wednesday. And in the meantime, check out there's light. Check out my Google Classroom and email me just to say hi, any questions, anything that you are thinking about, and I will get right back to you. Hope you guys all have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.